What if something the size of a man, but darker than the night itself, is watching you from the tree line, and more people than ever are finding muddy, human-like footprints where no human should have walked? Problem: hikers and rural residents across the central Appalachians are reporting the same thing. A shadowy bipedal figure at dusk, strange knocks on trees, and huge prints left behind. What happened? In the last year, dozens of eyewitness reports have been logged with field researchers and local news outlets. And the stories keep coming in from Virginia, West Virginia, and the mountain hollows in between. My name's Daniel Harper. I'm a freelance wildlife photographer and a weekend backcountry guide. I spend more nights under a tarp than in a bed. For the last 3 summers, I've been hiking the ridgelines and hollow trails of the central Appalachians, trying to catch light that only the mountains get right before dawn. I'm not a storyteller by trade, just a guy who cares about the woods. And lately, the woods have been answering back in a way that doesn't make sense. It started slow, an odd knock on a maple while I was setting up a camera, a deep, guttural sound on a ridge that made my dog freeze mid-breath. Then I began hearing the same elements over and over in the reports people send to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization and in local message boards and news stories, sightings at dusk, glowing eye reflections caught in headlights, enormous footprints in the smell. Witnesses describe a sweet, rotten odor that sticks to your clothes. These aren't one-off campfire tales. They're being recorded, cataloged, and discussed by people who live and work in the woods. 2 months ago, on a late September evening, I was driving a narrow secondary road through Nelson County, Virginia, coming back from a scouting trip at Wintergreen. The road climbs, there's no shoulder, and the maples were throwing themselves across the headlights. I saw something stand in the ditch, a tall, dark silhouette, too upright to be a deer. It didn't run. It turned and looked at me. My headlights picked up 2 pinprick reflections where a face should have been, like bicycle reflectors, and then it stepped into the trees and vanished. I wasn't the only one to see something strange on those roads that week. The county had a cluster of reports and even a later hoax that made headlines. But the pattern felt the same. A figure at dusk, eyes that react to light, and witnesses left shaking. Listen to this. Witnesses tell the same micro details again and again. The thing moves differently than a bear, more deliberate, almost human when it walks upright, but with the long, slow stride of an animal that covers ground. People report hearing a hard thud, like someone jumping down from a branch, followed by a low growl or a series of knocks from deep in the underbrush. Dogs go silent. Radios die. Footprints large enough to be measured across the width of a boot print, and then some are found in clay and mud, sometimes with a long stride between them. These are the kinds of details that get written down and cross-checked by field researchers and local reporters. Why this matters to anyone who loves these mountains is simple. It's not just a weird thing out there. These are trails people hike, back roads people drive at night, places kids walk their dogs, and where hunters set blinds at dawn. When something unknown moves through the same spaces you do, leaving prints, making sounds, appearing at the edge of a headlamp, it changes how you walk in the dark. It turns routine evenings into tense, measured silences. And that's exactly what's being reported across the valley towns. A shift in how people move through their own backyards. On a full moon hike with 2 friends, we set a perimeter with headlamps and a small campfire in a saddle between ridges. Around 11:30 p.m., we heard a series of deliberate knocks, 3, then 2, then a pause, then 5. My friend whispered that he'd heard people use that pattern as a way to say, "I'm here," through the trees. Our dog, who had been asleep at our feet, sat up and stared toward the tree line. After a long minute, something moved between 2 white oaks. Not running, not crashing through like a bear, just stepping with purpose. We caught the flash of something tall and impossibly dark, the outline of shoulders and a head that seemed too long for a human. None of us took a step. The thing gave one slow, low breath that smelled like perfume gone sour, and then it was gone. We left before dawn. We filed a report because we had no good answer. That report joined dozens like it on researchers' lists. Skeptics will and should point out hoaxes and misidentifications, bears, moose, even people in costumes. There have been hoaxes, and local papers have debunked some viral videos. But the reason investigators and longtime locals sit up when a cluster of reports appears is the consistency of details across independent witnesses. Similar timing, dusk and night, similar sensory cues, knocking, glowing reflections, odor, and similar physical traces, large tracks, broken saplings. When a pattern shows up in the same ecoregion repeatedly, trained researchers take note, and the BFRO and local field teams maintain databases precisely for that reason. This isn't just curiosity. It's become part of local culture in places like Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the Mothman legend drives an annual festival and tourism. That festival and the continued chatter around cryptids aren't proof of anything supernatural, but they show how these stories weave into place and identity. In other mountain towns, community meetings have been convened when clusters of sightings appear. People want guidance. They want to know if their children should walk different routes at dusk, and they want authorities to be aware. Whether you call it folklore or a genuine mystery, when people are seeing the same shadow in the trees, it becomes a community issue. Field investigators go in with boots on the ground, measuring casts of footprints, searching for hair or other physical evidence, placing trail cameras, and interviewing independent witnesses. Sometimes the results are nothing conclusive. Sometimes they find large, ambiguous prints that could be misinterpreted. Some expeditions gather sound recordings, the so-called howls or whoops, that are sometimes attributed to unidentified animals. The point is not that there's a tidy answer, it's that there is a record. Those records are what keep professionals and curious locals returning to the same hollows, taking notes, and asking questions. 2 things stayed with me. First, the raw human fear of being observed by something that doesn't belong to your world. That feeling sits alongside the more rational fear of an animal you might not be able to read, of a stranger in the woods, and together they make you small. Second, the humility of realizing how little we actually know about large swaths of these mountains. You can know every bend of a trail and still find yourself surprised. For me, that's the real horror. The thought that parts of the forest still keep secrets the rest of us can't explain. If you want more on this, hit subscribe. I post investigation-style stories from the Appalachian woods every week. If you like this, watch our next video, where I sit down with a BFRO investigator and go over 3 of the most credible recent reports from Virginia and West Virginia. We'll look at the footprints and the audio recordings together. So, here's what I want to know from you. Have you ever found prints that didn't belong to any animal you could name, or heard knocks in the night that had no answer? Tell me where and when in the comments. And whatever you do, don't walk the hollow alone after dusk, because out here sometimes the shadow watches back, and the mountains keep the receipts. Quick note, investigators emphasize that many reports end up explained by known animals, misidentification, or hoaxes. But the reason these stories persist is simple. People who live and work in the woods are still reporting experiences that unsettle them. And that alone is worth paying attention to. If you're going to be in the woods at night, carry a light, tell someone your route, and trust your gut. My truck's still sitting on Forest Road 19 near Blackwater Falls. Keys in the ignition. Coffee cup on the seat. I ran so hard I left my shoes in the dirt. You want to know why? Because what I saw ain't supposed to be real. Name's Mark Henderson. I've cut timber in these Allegheny ridges since I was 16. My granddaddy logged these same hollows back when Roosevelt was president. I know every deer trail, every abandoned coal seam, every place a black bear might den up. I don't spook easy. But what happened last Tuesday night near Canaan Valley? It ain't bears, it ain't coyotes, and it sure as hell ain't nothing I learned about in survival school. I was just doing my job. Had a contract to clear storm-felled timber off a private lot near Bear Rocks. Late shift. Sun was dropping fast behind the ridge. My foreman called, said, "Mark, get that last truckload out before dark or we lose the light." Should have listened to my gut. The air got heavy, like before a lightning storm, but no clouds. The birds went silent, not just quiet, gone. Even the damn squirrels stopped chattering. I turned off my saw. That's when I heard it. Thought it was a buck. Raised my head. That's when I saw the shadow, not on the ground, between the trees, standing taller than the hemlocks. No shape to it, just this hole in the light, like someone cut a piece out of the world. And it was dripping, not water. This thick black sludge that hit the leaves and hissed smelled like a junkyard fire mixed with rotten eggs. I've smelled dead deer in August heat. This was worse. It crawled up my throat, made my eyes water. I backed slow toward my truck. Didn't want to spook it. My hand was on the door handle when it moved. Didn't walk, didn't run, glided. 1 second it was 50 yards off. The next, bam, it was standing under that big white oak beside my truck. No footprints, no broken branches, just there. That buzz, it wasn't in my ears. It was in my bones. My teeth rattled. My flashlight beam, it just died when it hit that shadow, like the light got eaten. Then I saw the eyes, not eyes like ours. 2 pinpricks of sickly green light floating in the dark where a face should be. No blink, no pupils, just watching. I remember thinking, this is how my daddy died. He vanished logging near Spruce Knob in '98. They found his chainsaw still running, coffee thermos warm. Ranger said a bear took him, but his boot was found up a tree 10 feet off the ground, clean as a whistle. I never believed the bear story, not after what I saw that night. The shadow tilted its head. That green glow flared bright, and it hissed. Not like a snake, like steam blasting out a busted pipe. I jumped in my truck, keys fumbled, engine wouldn't turn over. That's when it reached for the door, not with a hand. With this tendril of darkness, like oil smoke, it curled around the side mirror. The glass froze solid. Ice bloomed across it in seconds. I could feel the cold through the metal door. My breath turned to fog inside the cab. I put the truck in reverse, stomped the gas. Tires spun on wet leaves. That shadow just stood there, watching. Then, crunch, I hit a stump. Truck died. Lights went out. Total black. I could hear it breathing outside. That wet drip, drip, drip. Closer now, right beside my window. It broke through the passenger window, not with force, like the glass just melted where it touched. That black sludge oozed onto my seat. Smell hit me like a fist. I vomited right there on my boots, reached for my pocket knife. Dumbass move. Felt that cold slime brush my arm, burned like dry ice. I kicked the door open, ran, didn't grab my coat, didn't grab my phone, just ran down that mountain road barefoot. Rocks cut my feet. Branches tore my shirt. Every time I looked back, those green eyes were closer, not running, flowing, like ink in water. Made it to Route 32. Flagged down a state trooper. Deputy Riley, he's from Davis, knows these hills. When I told him shadow thing broke my truck window, he didn't laugh, just radioed in. Possible bear encounter near FR 19. Then he leaned close, real quiet, and said, "Son, my uncle's a game warden. He's got a file drawer full of reports like yours. Calls it the Dusk Walker. We don't talk about it, but we believe it." Next morning, Deputy Riley took me back. My truck was still there, window shattered, but no glass on the ground, just this black tar-like smear on the seat. Smelled like burnt rubber. Sheriff's Department took samples, sent them to Charleston, came back inconclusive, but Riley showed me something. He pulled out his phone, showed me a thermal image from a park camera. Timestamp. Same night I ran, you see a bright white spot, human-sized, running down the trail. Behind it, a cold spot. Pitch black on thermal, moving faster. And it wasn't on the trail. It was through the trees, like the forest wasn't even there. Riley said, "Last month, a hiker near Dolly Sods vanished. They found his backpack, his water bottle, and this." He showed me a photo, a footprint in mud, not bear, not human. 3 long toes bent backward, and the mud around it was frozen solid. In July. I ain't crazy. The rangers ain't crazy. The cops out here know. They just can't say it on record. If you hike these mountains, please don't go alone after dark. Don't ignore that sudden silence. Don't trust the shadows between the trees. I'm telling my story because last week, a woman in Elkins called the sheriff's office screaming. Said a shadow man stood outside her kid's bedroom window. Didn't move, didn't leave tracks, just watched. They found frost on the glass. In August, I need you to do something for me. If you've ever felt that cold spot when the forest goes quiet, if you've ever smelled that burnt rubber stink in the woods, comment below. Tell me I'm not the only one. Because last night, I heard that drip, drip, drip outside my trailer, right under my bedroom window.